There we go. No way.
All right, welcome everybody to our 9th Gardeners and Growers workshop for April the 9th, 2017. And as usual, we'll run through the different opportunities for further education workshops. It's held on a Wednesday, once a week, with Dr. Gatwa. And then you can just join yourself as a private student. It's €100 for the year, getting access to huge amounts of information. And then the 3 books. There's valuable information in these books. I'm always reading these books over and over again, and every time I read them, it's like reading a new book because there's just so much layers and layers of information. All right, so we're just going to look at the workshop will be a lot on the practical applications of the plasma devices. And we'll start off with Ross showing us how he's made his balls and with the different ganses in the different strengths of the ganses in the balls there. So we'll hand it over to you, Ross. Shall I stop sharing and then you can share?
Thank you.
And again, we'd like to say thanks very much to Ross for doing his wonderful presentation again at the Rome conference, where he got quite a good response from all his beautiful veggies.
I'm sorry, I've just lost my talk. I'll just have to get back into the file, look it up.
Okay,
just
no rush.
take a couple of minutes.
No problem. I'm going to promote these people to panelists in the meantime, so don't panic.
Okay, got it now.
There we go.
Now I'll do a share screen. Hang on, just get covered. Oops, I can't do a share screen. No, Am I still on the meeting?
Yes, you are. We see your little picture of swirls.
Haven't seen your screen yet. Yeah.
Oh, for some reason I've got, oh, that's it. I've got a double. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. I seem to have got out of the screen. Just bear with me. I'll try and sort that.
Just relax and it'll come.
Yeah. Don't seem to be able to get your screen again for some reason. Oh, here we go.
There we go. I see something starting. There we go.
Okay.
Slideshow from beginning. How's that?
Yes, we can see it all.
You.
Good. Well, this is my presentation for the preparation of plasma containers for a vegetable plasma field. The items of equipment required: 1. Plasma water from CO2, CH3 and CuO GANs and COHN amino acid. 2. Containers, ping pong balls, that's what I'm using. 3. String or cord must be weatherproof. 4. Syringes. 5. Hot glue gun. 1. These 3 ganses with plasma CO2, CuO, and CH3. I did not use the COHN because I don't have a great deal of that at the moment. 2 cheap ping pong balls from China. I got them for $14.44 Australian for 150 balls. That's pretty cheap. That's very cheap. And I got string, which is builder's cord, which is strong and from a builder's hardware. I got a syringe each for the 3 different ganses, using 1 syringe for each plasma type. And of course a hot glue gun, which I've got 100 watt as shown here. Can be of lower wattage, but I find this one is pretty effective. I've inverted a shoehorn to line up the balls to hold them in place while I'm processing. So I line up the balls on a groove or device so that they don't roll away. Cut the string in lengths about 400 millimeters long. Obviously, they have to match the number of balls. These strings are not quite the number as shown on the left-hand screen. And the next one is punch holes in each ball close together using a needle. Don't use syringes as gas comes out of the balls and fragments may block the tube. That's what happened. That was my trial and error experiment. It blocked the tube. They must fill these balls with an inert gas, but it comes out with quite a pressure. The next one, I usually, because the holes are a bit difficult to see, I use a felt nib pen and I circle the balls, and I also generally put a number on the balls for identification. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 balls in this line. They can, I place the holes uppermost to prevent spilling the contents. Fill each ball partially, 3/4 full with CO2 using syringe, then a few drops or more of CH3 or CuO, and we vary the mixes a lot. So on the 6 balls up, they each have varying quantities of CuO, CH3 to form a gradient. The final application, you have to keep the balls upright, otherwise those 2 holes will leak GANS water. So keeping them upright, I fire up the glue gun and glue over the 2 holes, sticking each string at the same time to each ball. This is a mass production method along a ball line. It's not exactly a ball and chain, but it's a ball and string in this case. Then, so when the glue is dried, I take them outside and hang them over and around the plants to create a plasma field. You can also attach 5 or 6 balls around trees or existing full-grown plants, and it enhances the plant's growth. May all your cabbages with plasma be an extra big one with the use of plasma tech. So that's you, Jimmy, sitting on top.
Okay. Is that you down there directing?
That's me looking at it, wondering, right over in the left-hand corner there. Amazed at you, Jim, up there. What
Yes.
was he using? He's what was he using? And it's just down to Plasmatech.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my acknowledgement. I wish to thank Mr. Kesh and the Kesh organisation for free programs that are conducted around the world. Also of paramount importance, the introduction of GANs, plasma, water and plasma fields in the enhancement of crops, vegetables, trees and flowers grown for the benefit of the human race. And there's some flowers. And that ends my presentation.
Thank you, Ross. I think that will give people an fair idea of how they can do their same thing at home. Yes, I'm just trying to. Sorry, I've lost my place here. But yes, and then the important part that we've also found, we'll show some of our experiments, is the gradient, is to create that gradient so that you can create that flow between your devices. And I just couldn't find my screen share there. Okay, Klaus, would you like to come in and tell us something on dependence again?
Okay, hello, Liz and Jimmy. Hello, Ross.
Yes, how are you?
I'm fine. I hope you too. We have today a very nice and shiny Sunday. And in the afternoon, my wife is in the garden and works, and I present some things to you. Okay.
Are you above freezing?
No, we have, I think, 13, 14 degrees.
Okay, well, that starts.
Yes, what I want to show you is a little presentation about the water crystallization, that we can see how different electromagnetic fields and other things have an impact on this water, and how it shows this for a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay, then I will
Great.
start.
I'll stop sharing there for you.
Thank you. This presentation shows different waters from China and also from Russia. As from a partner for me, he had a coffee shop company with 250, 300 shops around the world. And I built for him a special mineral black boxes. When the water goes through these boxes, through the dimagnetics from the minerals, they became a special structure for his coffee. And he wants all over the world the same results with the same mixture of coffee and slightly same taste. And so I will show you some pictures. Normally, the crystal is round. And when we have a little, on one side or two sides, little impact, we see from which direction comes the impact of this. Here we see all the organic structures losing. Here we can see like the crystal cannot integrate all this technical and chemical stuff. This is the natural style, and then becomes the crystal other structure. Here you can see from mobile phones or mobile masts, it's like when you have a wool and two needles and to make a pullover or something. Here it's normal, and here it becomes a uniform structure. The same like this, all the natural structures are overwritten, overloaded by these technical things. here the structure is fully gone. And this is the only one I've seen in Beijing where we have found natural crystal structures at the probe. Russia, you see, there are difference in the structure, and we see, like in Austria, also fine structure in the water. The crystals, just like wings or leaves. And here also many technical influence. And here you see when the technical stuff comes in, here the organic structure, and it comes from the south. Here's the north, here's the south, from the south into this water. Here only in the middle, in the center, a little bit of organic structure. And here also a very fine crystal, but it begins these things. And in the nature we have not 90-degree structures, not so exactly. And here you see the water is fully with this technical influence and can not integrate this. And the last picture, the cluster falls down and it's like a dry skin. A dry skin. It's the same when we have a high voltage line over the ground. There the water and the vegetation goes down to the ground, and all you can see the growth on the plants when you have exactly look under the line where the high voltage comes. And also the same like human beings, when we have many impacts from these electromagnetic things, at first the skin will look at this and will cannot integrate this, and you become a dry skin. And for example, I want to show you some good structured water. See? Okay. Okay. Just a few seconds, this is a big data.
That's all right.
Look. Have you played the last days a little bit with the points, with the pendulum?
Yes.
We have.
I've gone up to our little farm area there, and I've been dowsing the points a bit and finding the different areas.
Okay, very nice, very good.
Yeah, I'm getting quite good at this, I think. Yeah.
Hop, hop, hop. Okay.
We can hear all the birds in the background there, Klaus.
Yes.
Sounds so nice.
Then I can show you a little bit view with the other computer with the camera. the spring starts in Austria.
Yes.
And we have, I have a look here on a wild cherry tree, and also the oaks begin to build up the leaves, and the apple trees become his blossoms. Very nice.
Yes.
So, okay, then we can give the tips. So, okay. It means, is our drinking water nutrition number one? Old wisdom and new experience. Okay, we make the presentation. And these are the 16 elements, as we mentioned before, how they are very important for the metabolism from the water. And what we can see in the crystal structure is when the half or something is lost, we can look what is the impact, exactly what elements are too much or needed for. Normally, like a cell, we have a good skin, clear and structured, like this, like organic structures or like blossom structures in the center. As I said, when you look, you have to look clear. And here some examples. This is water from a spring in our biggest rocky area. Großglockner is 3,300 meters high, and we make from the same water 7 crystallization. Then we can look at how they help us in different areas, like the chakras or like organs, like hypophyse, epiphyse, thyroid, heart to the ground. Here the same, and we see all in the Alps also a little bit problems. This is aqua test. It's not so good for ourselves or for the health of the plants. You see they have nothing on structure in it. It's good 2 or 3 weeks to drink, to detoxify, but not too long. What will we show? At next, I show you the structure of kidneys from pigs, and these kidneys we bring in some plastic to show the arteries and the venous, and it looks like a good root from a plant or swan. And when we drink not enough water, or when we go into the structure from the roots with MBG, with fertilizers, then we harm the structures, and you see more and more it goes down. It's like atherosclerosis in the kidneys, and the most plants looking at this. And this looks like when a man is on dialysis. And so the most of the roots look the same. Normally, it's like this. And holy springs, one of the best holy springs, I show you this, is for me Lourdes in France. And Lourdes looks very similar to the CO2 liquid plasma water. Lourdes 2 is the second, is like a cave where we put the water. And there's no problem when here is empty. You see here the plate from the microscope, and the form building forces are so strong that the water won't climb up and build higher and higher. And here, holy springs in our in Upper Austria, and we can see here the uniform structures is also the crystalline was okay, but microwaves and satellites make this structure, this uniform structure, and the crystal from the information for us or from the nature goes down and down. And this is one of my favorites called Hedwigsbründel. Hedwig is in Upper Austria, is a center for healing for different disease for the people, and they make this with water. And when we see some crystals like this, they are so structured that I cannot go into with the camera, and we say this is a healing structure. And also what you can see here in Austria, they called eye spring. This spring water is good for the eyes, but not for the physical eyes. It's more for the third eye. And you can also see, special on this side, is good structured water, but also they have little problems. And when the water cannot integrate all the stuff, they look like this. And our politician leaders go to this church and have meetings there. And I see there was a good structure for seeing with the third eye, but in this time, no more. And this also a spring water, and I can show we work only with one hand of a wine grape humus and with a little mineral cylinder. And 10 minutes later, there was 40 people with me. Then I can that they cannot say I have some meditation show. And 10 minutes later, they look like this. Water can change its structure in milliseconds. When we took probes, we have glues on, while our biomagnetic field influenced the diamagnetic structure from the water. Water is a dipole, and water can go in resonance with electric, also with magnetic fields. Then the water comes in isolation containers from citrus wood, and in this wood box, they can send me the water from all over the world, and I can have it in the lab with similar structure as they come from the spring or from a pipe, from water pipe, and I can measure this at home. And then, as I said, this water was mixed with a special salt, and the same water comes on 7 plates. And you see these boxes have a direction from north to south that I make with a compass. And so when they are dry, like here, I can say where is north, where is south, where is east, where is west. And so I can look at it, what is with this water. And then we took the photos. The background is only for the color. And we can also make a water that has no information in it. Like this. Is a morphogenic structure. And when I took some water in the ground as agriculture or a special point in the nature, 10-20 hours later, the whole structure from the environment come into the water, and I can look what is with this water. As example, in agriculture, by looking at the quality from the soil. Here a biological probe. You see it's round, it's okay, it looks good. Other probe, biological. And here, convention. You see, the water have many problems. And also the water in the potatoes then, or in all the field fruits, or in the tomatoes, have the same water structure, or like this. Okay. Or when we look at the seeds, we can also look at the seeds, are they organic or not? Normal organics they can interact with the soil, and when we bring them with different chemicals, it looks like this. They have not this openness to the soil, like here in different areas, or here. Okay, for understanding of this. Some questions?
I'm sure we'll have lots of questions. I think just keep your screen up there.
Okay.
And first, do you have a picture of the CO2 GANs? I don't know if
Yes.
you
Okay.
did that one. Of the GANs.
Moment. Oops. Oops, sorry. Not correct. Where is it? Okay, share my screen again.
All right.
Here is it. And when we look at the structure of CO2 GANs, we see very similar to the Lourdes spring. And what we see is in this information state from this water, it brings up our cells and our bioenergy and our water structure to a higher level. It informs us. It brings us in form.
So it actually gives our cells the correct information then. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. That can be seen. Yes, and also we see this in the health from the people, also in the medical side.
Yes.
That the CO2 in combination with the zinc gives us very good information structure.
That's quite amazing. I have a lot of questions, but I think I'll open it to the floor first to see if there's any other body that will have some questions first. Does anybody want to have some questions?
I go into the sun, in the shed is too hushy.
I have a question, Klaus.
Hello, please.
Oh, sorry. You go. I have a question. Do you freeze those drops of water, or
no?
No.
We tried. It's not like Mr. Emoto. We have we make this with a special kind of salt, and then we dry this. And in the drying, they formed his forces into the crystal, and so we can look into the crystal. It's similar, but not with we tried and he.
I see. It's dry. I see. Not like Professor Moto. Good. Thank you very much.
Okay. Welcome.
Paul, you had a question. Hello.
Yeah. Hi there, Lisa, Jimmy, Klaus. I've more of a comment, but as we were driving Australia for 6 months, testing various water sources every couple of days, The CO2 cans water was fantastic in terms of purifying the water. And by the time we got up to Port Hedland and Karratha, which we deemed to have the worst water in Australia, it was fantastic that our family managed to survive all these different water sources without any form of dysentery as we travelled, which I heard was it was a reasonable achievement. Quite a few people have issues dealing with different water sources as they travel.
Did you mix the waters, Carl? Mix the CO2 water with the plasma with the other water?
Yeah, just a few drops in our 20-litre water container was enough. And it kept us all healthy. And my wife is recovering from cancer, has very low immunity, and had fantastic health the whole 6 months. So it was quite an achievement.
So that's quite an interesting observation there, Cole, because, so many people travel the world, and we know when you go to strange places and you drink their strange water, everybody gets sick somewhere along the line. Whereas if you take your bit of CO2 water with you, it would be a great benefit.
Certainly, and gee whiz, if you tasted the water in Karratha, it was just absolutely horrid. It's a $1 million real estate up there, but gee whiz, they don't have a good water source, and it makes you wonder how long it'll be until plasma water can help replace the reliance on chlorine.
Yes. Okay, because that's a big mining area up there, hey?
Yeah, it certainly is in sort of the Pilbara area of Western Australia. So, very interesting, Klaus. Great to see that the water structure is even stronger under the CO2 than the clearer streams in France.
Yes, our Lourdes drops were absolutely beautiful. The particular water the holy water you got from Lourdes, Carl. I'm wondering whether you ever tried doing prayers or chanting over the water to change the structure. Is that possible? I know it's possible, but have you tried it?
We have not tried this, but I make this every day. When I took a glass of water, I bring it a little bit higher, like the priest in the church, but they don't know what they do. And when you say thank you and elevate a little bit this water, the structure would immediately change, and it's very fine for you to drink when you say only thank you to the water. We see this with the pictures from Mr. Emoto. I have also worked with more than 100,000 children, and we play this with water in schools, or with rice, with cooked rice, and we give them this rice in two, the same cooked rice in 2 glasses, and one rice we say every day thank you, the whole children, and to the other rice you are dirty or something. And you see after 2 or 3 weeks, you see how the microorganisms change the structure of this rice. One rice is very fine, looks very fine. I have pictures over this, and the other is dark, nearly black, and has a horrible smell. We are the creators.
Yes.
That's right.
Our consciousness bring in the energy. That's the game.
So.
And when you say thank you to something, this is my keyword, my meditation word.
Klaus, try the words love and gratitude.
Yes.
It makes a phenomenal, beautiful pattern with Professor Moto. I just wondered how your method would create the droplet.
Yes, I know this, the message of water. Yes, I studied this at the beginning. He worked. It's very, very fine work. It brings good consciousness to the people.
I have a couple of questions for you, Klaus. So in the beginning, you spoke about doing your device for the coffee. Were they able to achieve the same coffee around the world just by changing the water,
Yes.
structuring the water correctly?
While the lime and other elements, minerals, have very impact to the taste or to the what's the right word? When you have 7 grams of coffee and you bring water in it, you have a special smell. And when you have other water, the coffee does not so taste. The stuff was in it. And when we bring the stuff or the structure of the stuff or the structure of the minerals or the field of the minerals to this water, the water structured in nearly the same as all over the world.
Okay, now that's an interesting one. Now you showed in the beginning there was all the pictures from the technical waves. So that's all the Wi-Fi and the cell phones. They all created sort of straight 90 degree patterns.
Yes.
So that's all the information that's sort of imprinted into our water all the time.
Yes, also in our cell water.
Yes, so that's also in our bodies.
Yes.
Okay.
5 minutes and we destructured 169 aminos with 5 minutes with a mobile phone on the head.
Oh, so we're changing our whole body's water structure.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
We find
scary.
We find structures in the brain that are normally not there. And not only in animals, also in people.
So now that's why I've also read, I think years ago, how the water flowing through pipeworks, it's always been 90 degree angles in pipework. So that would have the same effect onto the water structure as well. All these right angles and
the pressure, and in the meantime, it's
yes.
the pressure. Yes, and the straight pipes and the 90 degree. Yes, right. There are different vortexes in this when we build this structure in the pipes, and we see this. We can. One of my teacher, the Victor Schauberger, says always the water loses its soul.
Okay. So when we're looking at understanding that and then looking at it from an agricultural point of view, so we need to try and make some device that will restructure the water before it's, I'm looking at sort of an irrigation point of view. So when just before you irrigating your field, so that water coming out should come out some sort of device that then restructures that water, essentially.
Yes, I can show you something. It's the structure of an egg.
All right, and I'll stop sharing.
We built something from glass in the laboratory, and friends of me make the same as ceramic. Look at this. Maybe I have showed this picture before. Look. So I find this, and here it is. I make it bigger. You can see the egg, and when the water comes in, it begins to turn, and then it comes in this little...
And then comes out.
Yes, and what we see is the water make like a shellac. It had one string, a very, very big Oberfläche. A very big surface. And you see
Yes.
here, in this area. And when we give pressure on this, you see water begins to, we call them meanders. You can see this when you wash your car and the air dries the water after in the machine. You see on the window how the water goes in this direction. Before water come into turbulence, it moves sideways like this.
Yes, so like a spiral.
Yes, yes. And we make also the same with fire. And in this oven, the fire looks like a kudu horn. The fire stands like this horn. I show you a picture, another picture.
Now, Klaus, before you move to another picture,
Yes.
how do you think we could incorporate an egg and Gans in the same structure?
Yes, yes, we can. So I look at another picture. Yeah. So, wieder teilen. So, this is for agriculture. The left and the right. Here is the right side, and here is the left side. And also in this kind is this vortex in it, but from ceramic. And when we work with this, with big agriculture farms, 200 or 300 hectares, one of the biggest biological potatoes and carrots farmers, we see they have, every week they have to sort out 5 to 6 big containers of potatoes while they rot. And after this work, we see they have a half of these containers to sort out.
Now,
and
if
also,
you had to, sorry?
Please.
If you had to add Gans to this water, would you put it afterwards?
Here, or in this structure, we can build little fioles or little things or little patches around. We can also, like the cup of life, also bring out here on this side little Gans water glasses or other things or patches.
Okay.
Or we work with this kind. This is in our main city. This was in 1996. I built up some spring with 18 of these ceramic kudu horns. It's all ceramic. And one goes into the other, the water floats into the other. And then we have on this metal plate, we have a current flow of electric. And the engineers come to measure these things. Well, they doesn't understand. And Victor Schaberger says always, when we move water in the right direction, we became not only the water energy, also the bioelectric energy. And this is the first time we see this phenomenon. And also we can have this structure in the water. This is exactly the structure as every ion, every element, every proton rotates. Also Earth, also the other planets have this movement. And when we bring this movement into the water, we build up the structure.
Putting the energy, the life back into the water.
Yes. It's the natural flow, and when we build the form, how this being like, then we have best benefit. Okay.
All right. Now, it got me thinking then as well, you know, have you looked at the rainwater?
Yes, we work with many times with rainwater.
Okay.
Rainwater have a different structure as where comes the clouds. In our part of Middle Europe, we become the most from the Atlantic, from the side from France. We have northwest winds, and then this comes in. And we can also see how much radioactivity and other stuff is in this, or this things from the cloud, from this chemtrails and all this. We can.
So you're able to pick up the sort of the chemtrail structures in the water then?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, it's interesting.
There are metal ions in it, and they can be showed.
Okay. All right. You mentioned the 16 elements of the water. So when you're looking at the pattern of the water, the circular pattern, and as one of them you showed that there was sort of a half a pattern there. So you're able to tell from the water whether it's got those 16 elements. So that different. What are those 16 elements?
Okay, I show you. I think we can work with this in 2 or 3 months. I have to translate all this stuff. This is a paper for 300 or 400 pages. And the interesting thing I work out, and then we can play with this. But I show you from this. Okay, these are the elements. Aluminium, antimony, oxygen, molybdenum, chrome, gold, phosphor, iron, brom, iodine, sulfur, copper, mangan, bore, nitrogen, and silver. And how they interact can we show, as I show you, is the electromagnetic field in harmony or it's not.
Okay.
It can be shown with this. And every element have a different type. Different interaction. This what the patterns show. The first is ferromagnetic, and I can see what elements are included. The second was the yang. The third, the dynamic, and so I can look what elements are in it was working. What interaction between these elements are here.
Okay, so it's showing you what is able to connect with the natural environment.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
But I have to work with this for you, and then we can learn together.
Yes. Okay. Now, it came to me as well, if we're able to take this water and then it will show us the health effect. So can you take the water from a person and do this process? And then you'll be able to see whether that person is healthy or
with this empty water structure, or what we can make. And I give you on the left hand and the right hand a little water bottle. And after 10 minutes, I have on the left side all the emotions, and on the right side all the physical stuff.
Okay.
And also the different layers from the top to the ground. I can see how is the problem. When it is in the third, I see, okay, it's in the area from the thyroid. When I see in the fourth, I say, okay, it's in the heart area. And I go deeper to the stomach and all this kind, and can see what is with this person. Yes, we can show.
Oh, okay.
We can also look when you something drink or eat, we can show this. But
So
not,
so if you've taken, have you taken somebody where you know their sort of health structure,
yeah.
and if they then drink 1 or 2 glasses of the CO2 water,
yeah.
And sort of 5-10 minutes later, there would be the difference in their structure, their water
Yes.
structure. Yeah.
Of course, for sure.
Okay, it's amazing.
We work with this with wine and with other things what the people eat. Also, we can show, but it is not only with the crystallization. We have a system from military and space from the Russians, and we can show at 800 parameters. And I can also see when we have on a clothing, and this is with pesticides is influenced, I can see the interaction of the skin. And then we have other clothings from natural stuff, and there is no interaction with the skin.
Okay.
All can be shown. Yeah.
I mean, this opens up a huge doorway into seeing the effects of the GANS water on certain certainly on us human beings, but also on the plants and animals. You know, it's
Yes,
just another confirmation of the effect of this GANS on everything.
Not only this, we work on this, that the people can show when they stay in the health unit and they see on the program what area is working, what organ is now in this moment working. They can we can show this in the next time.
Okay. Are there anybody else with questions?
Hello, Klaus. The CO2 is what you've been using. You showed a slide with the CO2 there. I was wondering, how does it look with the copper? Have you done that? The copper GANS?
Yes, we have. It's only I've showed only one picture. We have from different cancers. We have crystallization.
The reason I'm asking is because it's my understanding that the copper is more of a disinfectant or for water purification, and now I'm hearing that the CO2 is very effective in that. How can you just discuss that point?
Yes, every GANS has a different spectrum, has different layers, and so they interact with different parts of our body or different parts in the environment. And what we're looking for is to bring in more and more a harmonic spectrum from different GANSes and different other things to bring this into the environment and also in the environment from the human beings. And we bring in to ourselves, to our body, what we need, and we give. So we look to bring more and more harmony in the spectrum of the different GANSes.
I'm finding that the copper, though, is disinfecting. Is that correct?
Yes, but there are other kinds, you know, silver or other elements have similar effects.
Alex, the copper is also to do with muscles. So it is also good as a mix with your CO2 and zinc and CH3 because it does help the physicality in the muscles too.
I see, yeah, because Ross was using some copper in the bowls there that he was working with earlier, and I'm concerned about the bacteria, how the bacteria reacts to the copper.
What bacteria would you talk of, Alex?
Well, the bacteria that is there's all sorts of bacteria that's either, from our standpoint, beneficial or not so good. So we need the bacteria on the plant roots to grow the plants. And so what I'm wondering is if the copper itself is disinfecting or killing that bacteria, and retarding the growth of the plants, and how much of an impact it really does have.
I suppose everything in moderation, because we've also put a bottle of copper GANs into our system. And at first we were a bit worried with the fish, but it didn't seem to affect the fish at all, nor did it have any adverse effect on the plants that we could see. But I suppose if you add too much copper, it will be a problem.
I think in the Ghana experiments, they were running from 100% copper down to 10%.
Yes.
And then they found that it was 100% effective, even though it was diluted down to about 10%, and that was for the purpose of water purification. But when we talk about water purification, we're also talking about the microorganisms and the bacteria that are in there as well. So I'm just wondering about the detrimental effect that might have on the irrigation water.
I think the smaller the amount, the better, and then you can work your way up. But I know on that Ghana presentation as well, I think they did. Their big concern was putting too much copper in the water, because yes, you would kill a lot of the natural bacteria in the water. And,
I believe Mr. Cash was kind of reluctant to drink the copper water, or am I wrong there?
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, we drink I just have a small amount of the copper compared to the other ganses. I'd say it's in moderation, and copper being the stronger one, you just have less of that.
I see. Excellent presentation. Wow.
He dropped off.
Dropped off. Okay.
Oh dear.
So.
I wonder if his internet went. We'll have to see if he comes back.
Ross, because how much copper were you been using in your
balls,
in your ping pong balls there?
No one's talking to us.
Ross, can you hear?
Everyone gone.
Have we disconnected?
No, I don't think he was using that much, to tell you the truth, from what I can tell.
Okay.
What we'd explained to him was to create a gradient, and that I think was the main object, is just to try and, it was mainly CO2 anyway, and then just a little bit of the other gases to try and create the flow between all the balls.
Isn't the biggest gradient between the copper and the CH3?
Yes, your copper, zinc, and the CH3, that would be your biggest. But even if you're just using plain CO2, you just change the volume of the water, or you dilute the water, and you can create a gradient between two balls just with CO2 water. So it's just a case of understanding and creating that gradient.
Okay, so to change the reaction of the gradient, but you can change that by the volume of the water, of the plasmatic water that you're using.
Yes, if you take a glass of the CO2 water and you fill a ping pong ball with that water, and then if you out halfway and fill it up with normal water, and then you take that water and fill your other ping pong ball, then you are creating a gradient between those two balls, and then you're creating your flow.
I see. The other interesting point you brought up was on those ceramic vortex devices for the irrigation. He was talking. This is Carl now. He was talking. No, I'm sorry, Klaus. Klaus was talking about putting a GANS collar on the inlet. On the inlet there.
Yes.
My question is, how long does it take for the water to absorb the energy fields from the GANs? I have found, just from my own experiments, and then this is strictly anecdotal, is that in some cases 24 hours of exposure to the GANs has a dramatic difference. When the water is passing through that small collar, we're only getting it there for a fraction of a second. So I'm wondering how effective that really is.
I see Klaus is back. Can you hear us, Klaus?
Yes, I can hear. I dropped out. My internet was not stable.
Okay.
But
Did you
I
hear
hear
the question?
Yes, I hear the question.
Okay.
Normal way, water moves in milliseconds. I talked to Lisa and Jimmy from a experiment 25 years ago. The scientific world wanted to measure 8 molecules of water, and they see the biggest computer systems cannot work with this. They collapse, and water have so many movements in so short time that we cannot measure this. I see when I give a multimineral GANs in a clear water.
Are you still there, Klaus, or you dropped out?
Oh no.
Yeah, that's the big question that we have as well for our system, because I'm trying to design a similar system that I can try and integrate the flow of the water with the GANs. And the question that always comes up to my mind is the flow of the water, so how fast is the water flowing, and are the fields affecting that water, whether I have 1 liter passing per minute or 100 liters passing a minute, passing a certain point. So that is certainly a question. I'm sure Klaus might be able to answer that with these tests as well.
Like, I've just been finding that I've been using a GANs bowl and creating some plasma water from it. And
Okay.
as the water goes down, I try not to go below the 50% level, and then I top it up again. And although it is somewhat effective, I find it really picks up after about 24 hours. Mind you that the water is just sitting there. So there's certainly a difference in when there's a vortex or there's a flow from that. So I haven't been able to compare that, so that's why I'm asking.
That's a good question.
We are looking at possibly designing something with some of the doctors have been showing a breathing device where they coil a tube through a jug or something so that are filled with GANs, so that the coils of the tube which are filled with air go through the GANs. And we were thinking of trying to create something like that would pump the water through, so it would have to go through a lot of surface area of the GANs around it to then get the fields in.
Mm-hmm.
Klaus, you back?
Yes, I'm back. I start the second computer. I can show you some breathing device. I have at home one, and it's very easy to build.
Yeah.
I come back in a half minute. I bring this, and the second computer, then I can show you this. Okay.
All right.
So, oh, sorry.
Yes.
No, that's just the breathing device concept is what we're looking at to try with the water, because if the air is being energized as it's going through that coil, then maybe we can get the same going with the water.
Well, the breathing device though is only for a few seconds, so actually the air is sitting in the hose that is sitting in the GANs field. It has been sitting there for quite a while, so I'm seeing a similarity with that as well.
Sorry?
What?
Moment. to stop this. So now are not interferences.
Do you want to share a screen, Klaus? I'll stop.
Jim, can I just ask you a question, please?
Yes.
When you were briefly just earlier on talking about gradients and ping pong balls and different volumes, if you had if you had two ping pong balls the same, and you had the same amount of liquid plasma or GANs in them, if you started to rotate one of them, would that create a gradient?
I would think so, yes. If one was stationary and one was rotating, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I do have another question, but it's for Klaus.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, okay. We tried. So. You can see something?
We can see something, but not very clearly. Now it's gone.
Okay, then I go in the shadow.
Okay.
So, I have to move the paper from my camera.
Okay.
Okay. So, here is the, oh, come on. Here. This is only a cylinder.
Okay.
And in this cylinder, we have like a little beer glass.
Yes.
But there is a hole in it, but it's not a problem. It's only for wind the pipe around.
Okay, yes.
In the cylinder, yes. And the cylinder is filled with a high amount of CO2 zinc, liquid plasma and GANs. And I build a you can make it with a mask and also with this kind of nose drill, like the people in the hospital become the oxygen.
That's right, yes.
And I have a long pipe around, so I can stand the cylinder 2 meters far from me and can breathe. And with this device, I breathe every day 1 to 1.5 hours. And I'm a smoker for more than 45 years, and I see a very good benefit when I work with this. The coughing is gone, and I have good breathing results.
Yes, so you're just breathing in the air that's traveling around the glass filled with the GANs.
Yes, and in this cylinder, I measured this at a medical teaching. And I see the pipe have a minimum length from 7 meter 20 or 7 meter 30. And we look at this, and this is 81
Turns.
No, not turns.
No.
Mal, was ist mal? Egal, I think nearly 7 meter 20, 7 meter 30 is the pipe.
The length of the tube wrapped around the glass.
Yes, yes. And we go from the top to the bottom,
yes,
and again to the top.
Okay.
Klaus, is your pipe wound on clockwise or anti-clockwise? Does that make a difference?
This is no difference. When you wind it up, it's one direction, and the other side is the other direction. It's no problem. We have a minimal length that we can took the whole fields.
Now, Klaus, you need to explain to everybody that you actually checked with a pendulum to find out how long the thing must be.
Yes, but in this case, I have no pendulum. This only I'm for my intuition.
Okay.
All time I need no pendulum. But I look in this and see. Okay, this is the was das mal multiplication. 81 multiplication to 9, and then I have the length.
Okay.
At first, I see the length, and then we have to look on, and we see, oh, it's a good ratio, 81 to 9.
To 9. Okay. Yeah. So the concept there is we're looking at doing that same concept, but flowing the water through a pipe that's also surrounded by the gas.
The same thing.
Yes.
Yeah. But we have to work. We have a minimum length, and we have to look how long is this for good results. And no problem. You become the right. Oops, sorry. A little view in my garden. There is in a plasma device with 30,000 volts.
Oh, okay. That's obviously DC volts. Is that DC volts?
No.
And there is a transformer in and build up the energy high.
Yes.
And we have it's like ignition by a car. It's very.
So is that just a coil that you're putting the high voltage through?
I can show you sometime this device and can show you how this works.
Yeah. Because it gives the same effect as spinning.
Yes, and so you bring in like a balloon. You blow up every cell. Every cell have a special potential. It's nearly 60-70 millivolts, and when you got sick, this goes down to 45. And when we look at 25 millivolts, then we see the people have. And when we blow up the balloons, all the cells begin to work. Membrane.
Okay.
Up in the cell. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Klaus. Any other questions there?
My other question, it might have already been answered, because I asked about the clockwise and the anti-clockwise, so whether that made a difference. I was just wondering if it made a difference if putting a clockwise or an anti-clockwise vortex on the water when you're moving it. I read that it did. I just wanted to know if Klaus had any experimentation with that.
It's very easy. You can change the exit from the hole, from the cylinder, and so you breathe half hour one side and a half hour the other side. So you have left and right.
Okay, but on where earlier on in your present sorry, I joined late, unfortunately. Sorry, everyone. Earlier on in your presentation, I saw some apparatus that was producing a vortex with the water.
Yes.
Now, does the direction of the vortex have any effect on the water?
Yes, have any effect. The left side, we clean potatoes, and with the right side, we bring in the energy in the cell, and the cell holds longer the energy, well, longer stable. Especially the biophotons.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions there for Klaus or Ross from earlier?
Hi, Klaus. Just wondering about the effect of when you first start drinking GAN's water, you can almost feel the volume, the energy vibrating going down your throat into your tummy. Over time, of course, that drops away. How do you explain that? And can you reinvigorate that by creating more and more GANs, and each one has a slightly different frequency, so you still feel it? Is that true?
Klaus.
Klaus still here.
So, sorry, I speak for myself. You are totally right. Speak with Liz and Jimmy 1 week ago at the same time. When we have 2 or 3 weeks pudding, the body doesn't need this the next month. So we have to change a little bit the structure of the ganses, and then we have a good benefit. When we stay too long with one mixture, the body doesn't move. We all the time a little bit like the nature, the vegetation, like the sun. We have every time different influence. Every time we have different fields. Every time we have different interactions, and so.
So one should take different combinations of your GANS waters every day.
Yes.
Okay.
Tell you what, I'd
Makes
love
sense.
to see. I'd love to see something on the plasma library. What Mr. Kesh said the other day, a few workshops ago with Renan, I think, about the order of how you add the GANs and which is the best way to do it.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That was basically lightest to heaviest. So CH3 is always your light one because that's your acidic. And then CO2 is always the next. And then depending on the mass of your element that you have gansed, you can tell which one is heavier. So your copper will be lighter than zinc, for example. So it's just a case of always using your lightest first and then adding your heaviest as you go down.
Okay, I better get onto that atomic scale.
Are we back to school with a periodic table all the time?
Would that be the same principle as if you were loading a multi-core reactor?
We've tried different ones. The experience we've had, we've tried to load like a double core reactor, and we loaded the center with the heavier elements. So it was the CO2 and copper and zinc, and then the outer one was CH3. And then we loaded another one was the opposite direction. So we put CH3 in the middle and the sort of gravitational ones on the outside. And we did notice an effect, a change. You know, they felt differently. When we did spin the balls, we did feel different effects as well.
Very difficult to quantify at this stage. And what we found is when you spin them together, 2 or 3, then it actually changes what's coming out of the balls almost, because if I spun one, it was gravitational in the center and magnetical on the outside, and when we tested it with a pendulum, it registered magnetical. But now I've added other balls in rotation at the system. Now that one is registering gravitational. So because the other ones are pumping out energy, it's changed itself in relation to the new ones. So it's very difficult at this stage to get a handle on this. We're going to have to do a little bit more testing and start understanding what we're dealing with. And hopefully the pendulum with Klaus is going to help us with that. I did want to show you guys a picture of the pendulum and how you can make your own in a way as a bit of a substitute, because you can use some GANs as a pendulum as well. So these are the basalt pendulums that Klaus sent us. And you can see in relation to a ping pong ball size. So it's a small basalt stone. And they have magnetic properties. This is why they work so well compared to a normal crystal of any other description. But what I'm finding is if I'm playing around with my little tiny vials of CO2 zinc GANs, they display the exact same characteristics and do the same thing as the basalt pendulum. So if you can't find yourself a basalt pendulum, I suggest you can make yourself a little hanging pendant type vial, which a $2 shop was most accommodating to find these. And I just made sure the little lid, which is plastic, was glued on with some glue so that it doesn't come apart. And you just hang it on a string or a chain, and it works really effectively. And we will start over time to start working on the different, showing everybody how the pendulum actually works and how you can read the different ways the pendulum flows around to give you different what am I thinking? Yeah, concepts and indications of what you're looking at on the earth or in yourself.
Gee, I'd love to hear more about these dual core reactors and playing with them around your aquaponics system. Any feedback yet?
We've got put the third one up a few days ago. It's difficult to tell because the weather's changing. It's too early. We think it's having an effect, but we don't know whether it's just
because the weather's so much better than 40 degrees. And
it's difficult to quantify at this stage, but early indications seem to be it is making an effect on the lettuce. So we'll be adding another one to try and create a proper star formation and see how that one goes. But it's certainly interesting and way to go.
And we certainly feel very good every time we go up to the system now too.
Yeah, we actually want to go and work.
Very good. I mean, one of the core learnings I've picked up from these teachings of yours is that it's flipping on its head our traditional thinking that we need the roots to absorb the moisture from the ground. Instead, it's 80% from the ether, 20% from the ground. You guys are using, based in the aquaponics world, do you think you would find more obvious results in a typical market garden?
Yes, well, if you'd watched last week's one with Ross, did you see that one?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, Ross had spectacular results there from his gardens, and that's all ground-based gardening. So, and his results has confirmed a lot of our observations and results. So whether it's in the ground or in the water, it seems to have the same effects.
My personal feeling is that the ground will be a lot easier to work with because the ground naturally has stuff that help the plants in it anyway. Whereas our water, you know, whatever we put in is the only thing that the plants can take out. So it's a lot more controlled. Whereas in the soil, you've got certain elements and things in there anyhow. And they're going to help your plants a lot better than just plain water.
Yeah, I can certainly agree with our community nursery we run here, pumping out 500 seedlings a month. It's been incredible to see the growth, and a guy I met on the road said, look, it makes your plants stand to attention. And
yes.
That's exactly what we've witnessed. People are just going, wow, look how tall they're standing.
Yes, it almost makes the plants proud again, which is a funny thing to say, but yes.
Very good.
Any other questions there for Klaus?
Yeah, yes, Klaus. I hope you're still online. Biophotons, you refer to that. How is that different from regular photons, or is that just terminology?
These are the normal biophotons. It's normal scientific work. The professor is the Professor Popp, a European guy who measured these things, and it's like a Geiger pipe. You measure only the impact from these photons.
And is this from the sun, or is this from the chlorophyll, or this is within the plant?
What we measure is the activity from the plants. What the plant radiates on biophotons.
This is the emission spectrum from the plants that are emitting the photons?
Yes.
So that would be the auric field, would it not?
That would be what? Sorry?
The aura of the plant?
Not only the aura. The aura has many different layers. As a human being or a plant, we have the first, the inner is the bioenergy. Then it comes to the emotional energy. Then it comes to the mind structure, and then it comes to the spiritual structures. That's all in one. But what this guy measured is only the photons, and the photons come from the cells directly. It's the radiation, the light radiation from the cells. Measured.
You're familiar with the Carillion type of photography. Is there any similarity between the biophotons and the Carillion residue?
The photons are one part of this spectrum. The aura is the whole electromagnetic spectrum. Is electric, is magnetical, is electroradioactive, is different kinds. And also the conscious fields are in this. I can you know these photos. I can show you from one cell, or I can show you this from different people. When we measure these things.
So the biophotons apply to animal, vegetable, and human matter.
Yes. All living things radiate out these photons. And also the the unliving matter, like wood, or as we say, have his own spectrum, but this is other one.
Klaus, could we say that another word for these photons would be the MAGRAV fields?
Not exactly. It's still yes. It includes this, but it's the light, only the light structure, and the light structure has also magnetical and gravitational fields.
Which is a MAGRAV field, has magnetical, gravitational, the light structure anyway.
So yes.
Might we be able to use that device to measure the intensity of the MAGRAV fields?
Maybe we can, yes, in interaction with a human or an animal or a plant, you can measure this.
How do you spell the scientist's name, please?
Please?
How do you spell his name? Can we research this?
Professor Karl Popp, P-O-P-P.
Thank you.
When you look at the internet, go living photons on Professor Popp. You find this.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No?
Okay, no more takers.
Thanks, Klaus. That was very informative. I think we got a lot to digest there, and it gives us a totally new dimension into the Gans water and why we actually need to have this and drink this Gans water for ourselves, foremost, and then for our plants and our gardens. So thanks, Klaus.
Thank you too, and I always love your special presentations.
Well, you always bring us something special too, so thanks.
Hope on this Wednesday I can go the first time to your meeting with Dr. Kat.
Oh, the private agriculture. Okay, good. It'll be good to see you there. All right.
Bye-bye. Have to eat now.
Thank you, Klaus.
Have a nice evening.
And then, all All right, so I'm going to go through what we had put together. It was just some of the practical applications that we have done over the past year on using the plasma and our different devices. And right in the beginning, we had created these pipes. So what I'd done was, there was 3 of them in a row there. You can't see the other one, but I had filled these pipes with a mixture of CGAN, CO2 and CH3, and then I hung these over the lettuce trough. And this was sort of in March 2016. But I didn't see any change in the growth of the structure. And then only afterwards did I begin to realize that, well, because I've filled them with all the same mixture, there was no flow and between the 3 pipes. So
they were all in a straight line.
And they were all in a straight line. So don't do this at home. In other words. The other thing we've tried is, if you look down the length of the trough there, we had placed a tube on either side, and one side we had filled with zinc, with liquid plasma water, and the other side with the copper plasma water. And these are about 1.5 meters apart. And the whole idea was, this was to create exactly like our CO2 box. We had a zinc on one side, copper on the other, and we tried to create a CO2 environment in between to see whether this would create more, sort of pulling more amino acids for the plants. So that was the plan for that one. And then using the ping pong balls as well, we filled some with zinc and some with copper, and we placed these alternated along the length of the trough there as well, to also try and create an amino acid field between
CO2 field.
Well, CO2 field, yes, to create CO2 and amino acids. So if you have a look there, we've just a top view, we had the one bed with our 3 pipes, and then the one next to it, we had put these 2 tubes and the ping pong balls. And yes, just a couple of photographs taken as they were growing. And our growth was very good out of that one. What we didn't see was, because you have a look at the photograph on the left there, you can just see a little orange ping pong ball. What I was hoping that I would see was, wherever we had placed these ping pong balls, we would be able to sort of see along the length whether that lettuces around there grew any better than the lettuces anywhere else. But that just didn't seem to, we didn't see anything there. What we'd found with this little experiment is, this particular system was running very low in nitrate levels throughout the winter time. And we had to just pump in some nutrient-rich water from the other system. And these ping pong balls in the tube seem to have made a difference in the growth rate compared to before. We've left them on there now, and because we wanted to just do further testing. It was something that we had observed. There was some changes, but nothing that was sort of definite. But what we had noticed then was now the interaction between all those, the system that we'd set up there with the tubes and the ping pong balls. We had seen a big difference in the interaction with, I'll show you photographs of the system next door when we placed some hanging balls, the balls. So there's an overview photograph there. So on the right-hand side, the 3 stripes and the couple of red dots. So that was our systems with the ping pong balls. And then we had another system which was 1 meter apart. And in there, I placed 4 double ball
Hanging
core balls here hanging there above the lettuce. And the idea was to create, with the 4 of them, to create some sort of flow between the 4 balls, and in between but we had found quite an interesting result in that the lettuces closer, so essentially the lettuces closer to our other system were bigger than the lettuces further down. I think you can actually see on this photograph here, they were bigger and smaller. So the interaction of these balls, hanging balls, with our system next door seemed to have created quite a nice effect on the front part of these lettuces here. It grew a little bit bigger. And so here's just a photograph of our hanging double balls there that we had placed above our lettuce. And there's just a position there of how we had positioned these 4 balls. And this is what we had placed inside of them. So in the top left, we had C gains with a pH of 10.2, and then we had CO2 and CH3 on the outer. And then the other one across, we got, I put CO2 and CH3 in the middle with the C gains on the outside. And so I tried to create all of them slightly differently so that I could get a flow going between all 4. And so we've got the flow between these, and it seemed to have more of an impact of the flow between the devices next door. So here's just a couple of photographs of the growth of the lettuces there.
They seem to have impacted the system, this system, more than what the other devices had impacted, I think because they were double balls.
And here was a nice one that I had to take again. That was on 8th of November. And that was taken at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And it was then 34 degrees Celsius in the shade. And as you said, Carl, the lettuces are just standing upright. They're very proud, happy, and it was as if it was a nice 25-degree day. And so it makes a huge impact on the plants. So with these double reactors, we had sort of seemed to find that it was quite beneficial for the plants. And they're still up in the system, hanging there at the moment. These pictures we had taken some while ago, and we just wanted to show you the difference between what sort of this amino acid structure on the leaf looks like. The one on the lettuce on the left, you can see the very matte leaves, very small plants. These were ones that just weren't growing, they weren't happy. And the ones on the right, you can see the difference in the color and that shine with the amino acid. And that's not water on there, that's just purely the amino acid shiny leaf structure. And that's what you're wanting, because you're wanting a nice healthy plant with that amino acid structure. And there's just another photograph there with the one on the left being a matte. And when you eat that lettuce with a matte, it's so tough and tasteless. And then the ones on the right with the nice shiny, there you could see it's nice, beautiful, healthy lettuce with the amino acid structure. And that's what we have noticed quite visibly in the last 2 weeks, is that with the spinning of our reactors now, we notice straight away that the lettuces are having this beautiful shine, even though the sunlight, we haven't really had sun for weeks and weeks with our cloudy and rain weather, but we're still getting very, very good healthy lettuces being grown in the cloudy, dark weather. So that's the first observation that we have seen with our reactors. And then we'll just give a bit of feedback on our summer. I'll hand you over to Lisa.
Okay, so these are the summer conditions over the last couple of months. From early December, we had temperatures ranging from 30 degrees to 45 degrees consistently until the first week of March. This was quite unbearable, quite frankly. Very dry, almost no rain, because this was the culmination of 2 years of drought. This is following about 18 months of the drought, and the nighttime temperatures were quite warm at about 24 degrees and up. So even the nights weren't cool. From the first week of March up until present, we've had approximately 1,200 millimeters of rain, and we're having no sun. It's very, very dark all the time, and the temperature's in the mid-20 degrees. Our farm grows salad greens in an aquaponics system and microgreens which are harvested when very young, just to give a bit of a background. And other problems on the farm. This was our big devastation. In the second week of December, we had a nighttime power failure. This created the worst case for an aquaponics farmer, and we had the death of all our fish, which create fertilizer for the plants. We later discovered it was ants that shorted out the power box, and our backup solar was down at the time, and so it didn't kick in. So as you can see, hundreds and hundreds of dead fish, and this created a really difficult problem for us, because now we had to decide what to do.
I'd like to just add in here, and obviously the initial reaction is sort of shock and everything, but afterwards, in hindsight, because we discovered it was the ants, I'd like to believe that the fish conspired with the ants to create this power so that the fish can get out of here, because I think the fish knew that we were getting very close to growing without them, and they obviously didn't like it in these conditions, and so they decided to move on to something better. So that's my understanding of what's happened.
Okay, so we'll carry on about what's going on with the fish later, but we'll just explain what plasma devices and growing methods we use through the whole of summer. So each system has 24,000 liters of water. There's 12,000 liters in a fish tank and 12,000 liters in the grow beds. We've added many ganses in bottles, glass bottles, to each system, because we found the plastic bottles actually get affected by the energy in the bottles, and so they start looking almost like they've been in the sun for years and years, something you'd find on the top of a rubbish dump after just a few weeks. So we've changed to glass bottles in all of our systems. Separate bottles we've done of CO2, zinc, CH3, C-GANs, iron oxide GANs made from iron chelates. We do need to try and get the iron in, because in any hydroponic or aquaponic system, you always have to add iron to keep your stuff growing green. And the C-GANs for the minerals, specifically because the lettuces and tomatoes and things that we grow do not grow happily unless they have a range of minerals, just like one should do in the soil as well. And we added the actual C-GANs to each trough every 2 weeks as well, because we've always used an Ormus type product which we've fed to our plants and found very effective. So we have known that the actual GANs itself can be added to the system without having it with a barrier with glass. We have various double balls hanging in different configurations about all the lettuces now, and we spray a combination of liquid plasma onto the leaves, and we also use liquid plasma and GANs mix of 1% or less mixed into our cocoa fiber and vermiculite. So on plant, because we're needing to plant in our little plant pots, when we mix up our cocoa and vermiculite to create our seedlings, we mix in, we have a bottle of GANs and water, which is, there's not very much GANs in there. We shake that up and literally add a tot of that to our water, our bucket of water before a shot of that before we add that to our cocoa fiber mixture, so that there's always a small sprinkling of GANs and GANs water through our cocoa fiber when we germinate our seedlings. So these are the observations we have had through the summer. Although the heat was intense, the lettuces never ever drooped, and that is including 47-degree days. The roots stayed white throughout the season. This was exceptional, as the water was on an average 31 degrees Celsius, which is basically bath water. All hydroponic farmers in our area had root rot from bacteria and lost crops for a good month over the hottest time. One farmer, we were told, even lost something like $300,000 worth of crop that he had to throw away and lost income, which for most of the guys around here with big infrastructure, it's devastating for them. Even the new seedlings that the commercial growers were buying in had the same root rot bacteria, so many farmers couldn't plant new seedlings. And in a hydroponics setup with this, they literally have to then flush out their systems every time and start again because the bacteria start infecting everywhere. We had a few isolated lettuces that did develop the root rot, but it didn't seem to spread, even though they were all sitting in the same water, which is the problem that the hydroponic guys get. It sort of infects the whole system. And we feel that the GANs in the water and the environment played a huge role in minimizing the root rot problem. Other observations we had as well was plasma application was not enough, however, to maintain vigorous growth. The plants grew slowly because they shut down their processes when the temperatures are too high, which was often and for long periods of time. We need to work on developing a reactor-based system that can create a plasma greenhouse where we'll be able to control the internal environment regardless of the external environment. So the plasmas are working to mitigate the issues we had, but weren't quite enough to really completely overcome the issues of the very hot weather, because any plant in really hot weather just shuts itself down. So overall, we were really pleased with the way our plants have withstood the harsh and prolonged conditions. And unfortunately, the only way of determining how this was is to compare to other lettuce farmers in the area and previous years of growth. And even previous years are difficult to compare with, because since we've started farming in this area, not one single season has been the same as the following one. In terms of, you know, yes, consistently we get this summer, and yes, consistently we get that spring. It is all over the place, and it's never the same twice. The one thing we did notice were there were no pests at all, except when the end of season was reached. For example, we grew some little Mexican gherkins, and when they had started to die off in March, which had been planted in October, so they had their full season, suddenly the leaves were destroyed by small caterpillars, because they'd done their thing and they were offering themselves up to the next lot of living creatures to feed on them, I reckon. And the whole of March, approximately 1,200 millimeters of rain in 3 weeks. The weather was dark all day, and the lettuce held up very well because it had water from the top as well as the bottom, which normally would cause everything just to start rotting. Previously, in these conditions, a large amount of rot would occur, and again, lettuces grew slowly under poor light conditions, and the plasma wasn't enough to overcome the slowness either. But they still looked healthy, they still looked good, and we still had crops to harvest, which most other lettuce farmers did not.
We are seeing, let's say, in the last week or so, that the difference was because we're still having a lot of the cloudy weather, and with the spinning of the reactors, we've seen speed up of the growth. So we're still early days, so we're hoping, yeah. And so these are the consequences we are having at the moment with no fish. When we evaluated the loss of our fish, they were essentially only providing the nitrogen source for our plants.
Having to collect hundreds of smelly, rotting fish from the tanks, we realized that, first of all, this was no way to treat other living sentient souls. And secondly, it was also a very inefficient means of creating a nitrogen source. The fish food we were feeding was pelletized fish protein from the bycatch fishing industry, a long process just to provide nitrogen to our lettuce. And all this didn't make much sense anymore for us based on our understanding of plasma. So we were using the ganses in our water and environment with great success. As you've seen, we've had all these bottles and all the sprays and using all our balls. The next logical step for us would be to run a total plasma food growing system, which we will now call plasmaponics. At the moment, we add tiny little amounts of nitrogen fertilizer into our water with other plasmas until the total plasma system is achieved. Since the heat has dropped off, we're really using hardly any nitrogen at all. The death of our fish was a blessing in disguise, as now we've focused on developing a system where we can grow food without destroying the environment or another living soul. So maybe this will be the next iteration of hydroponics and aquaponics. And hopefully, even if people do still want to use aquaponics and grow fish as well, they can grow really happy, healthy fish, which we hadn't got onto that portion of it yet. Just a really important reminder, it becomes very important when you first introduce GANs into your garden or farm to be very observant, to document small changes that one will see, even if you think it's not important. Just like we saw with Ross's feedback last time, it's extremely important to find out things, because the more feedback we can get from all of you, the better understanding we'll have on the effects of introducing GANs in your area. Because what we've discovered is that we keep on introducing new things and we keep on seeing slow but sure incremental better results, but we'll never have a way to compare our original growing before we used any ganses at all with what we're doing now. So you kind of almost taint the field of observation. So this is why we're saying really take notice when you first start using the GANs, and try and look back on historical record of how you've grown and what you've grown to be able to compare it to in the future, because it's going to be really difficult to figure that out.
And so I thought it was quite appropriate to now bring in Ross's summary from last week, because I was going to do a nice summary, but after reading Ross's summary, I think he's covered the whole lot in what you should expect when introducing ganses into your garden or your farms. So by placing systems hanging around the plant or a tree has a beneficial effect on fruit production as well as on the growth of that plant. The plasmas of CO2 and zinc mixed in with small graduated amounts of CH3 and copper produced great results. Plant growth was accelerated and healthy in the plasma fields. Plants appeared to have enhanced immunity to disease and attack and may lead to eradication of fruit fly. That's been our biggest sort of effect that we have seen, is just the lack of pests on our plants. Plants coming to the end of their production cycle can be invigorated to extend extra production with the plasma. Spraying your plasma combined with a system appears to give plants an immunity to weather extremes for this region. We've now sort of experienced harsh winter and summer, and we can definitely see how plants are able to, with using the plasma, cope better with these changes of conditions, extending the growing season for farmers, even been able to grow crops that don't necessarily grow in certain areas, as Ross has seen with some of these larger tomatoes. Fruit production is dramatically increased and size remains good. My results using plasma fields for fruit and vegetables growing is most successful, and you'll be eliminating the use of pesticides. I think that's a very, very big important factor here, is if we can start getting and not using the need for pests, for pesticides, because you just don't get them when you have healthy plants. And our use of plasma tech will certainly revolutionize the future agriculture. I think in 5 years' time, we won't recognize agriculture as we see it today. And often when I start watching a lot of old agriculture programs and I listen to a lot of these experts on how they wanting to farm and this and that, and I just listen to it as if I'm listening to people from another planet now, because our understanding of how the plant growth and how nature really works is so changed and so different that these people's thinking just seems so archaic now. It just seems quite weird to listen to this old way of looking at agriculture. So we're all at the forefront of this change, and we look forward to a lot of other feedback from different people. There was just the photograph. So if there's any questions on that one.
Oh, Jim, Jim, Lisa, that was a beautiful presentation. Your observations are totally consistent. I just want to add on that. The feedback that you're going to get from the conventional community is going to be a blowback, not a feedback. They really,
Yeah.
I have had firsthand experience with that, and it is not pleasant. But one of the things that I do, so anyway, and I agree with you, we're long overdue on this. So all your observations are totally consistent. The one where you had the two greenhouses side by side, and you had the zinc and the copper trough, and then you had the other one had the 4 bowls. I just want to draw your attention to Jackie Figg's expose there on the plasma times coming out of Arizona. She was doing a little experiment showing the radius of the effects of the plasma reactors of the magraphs. And she was using the dowsing rods to determine this, and she had done a combination, and then she did individual dowsing distances. So she did the combination of the basic 4, the copper, the zinc, the carbon, and the CH3. And then she did combinations of them, and then she found out the individual radiuses and the effect that it had, and so that is also consistent with respect in your greenhouse, and I think this is very instructive, because it seems to me, if we look at the design a little bit differently, you have basically set up a little CO2 reactor in the one greenhouse. And that may be the pulse that's required to set up the magraph field, and then the distance from there you could actually measure in the second greenhouse how far you went. So that is also consistent with the heating plates that they were doing in Norway, where they had the heating plates on the windows and the ganses in the 4 corners of the room. I'm just seeing a similarity between these 3 observations. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
I think we'll probably find, the results that we'll get from agriculture over the coming months and years. There will be such a crisscross between using it in other applications, because it's all the same, essentially. And the more results that we get and we can feed back to others, we'll eventually get to understand all of this and create wonderful products for all of us.
Exactly.
Yeah. Any other questions there?
Can you hear me, Jimmy?
Yes, we can, Ross.
Do your results have any impact on your surrounding neighbours? Are they actually taking a bit of notice, just out of interest?
We don't, since we moved in set up the farm, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. We haven't spoken to the neighbours. They had an open field in front of their place for 15 years, and then we came along and spoilt their view, I suppose, according to their. And so, yeah, they just don't talk to us. We're hoping that it will affect them, but we will never know. And it's up to them whether they will want to interact with the fields or not.
With our spinning reactors now, we're getting, with the pendulum testing, we're getting a good 75-meter radius out, just from a sort of a, we have to determine, because that's when I tested 3 reactors spinning close together, so like you would see in a star formation spaceshipy type thing. But what we've done at the system now is we've put 3 reactors, but they're sort of on 3 points towards the outside of the systems. So they are creating a sort of a circle with the systems in the middle. And those are sending fields very far and wide across the road and into the neighbors. And so we'll have to give them a little while to see if suddenly they become more friendly.
What I was getting to was actually these neighbours that were using aquaponics like you mentioned. I was under the impression that there were other neighbours around using aquaponics.
Oh, no.
No, they're using Roundup.
Roundup, yeah. Plenty of Roundup. Yes, actually, they must.
You know what?
Sure, I think. Sorry, I think they should sit up when you bring into the market a heap of lettuce and all their lettuces have gone rotten. Surely they should sit with the bacteria attack. Surely they sit up and say, "Wow, what are they using?"
Yes, that's one of the observations that one of the grocers came back to us, especially during the terrible heat period, is he was saying that the lettuce he was buying in, because he buys in lettuce and he gets our lettuce, he said that was lettuce he was buying in was lasting maybe 2 or 3 days on the shelf, and then it was going off because it was, harsh conditions. Whereas ours were still sitting there for their good 2 weeks without any problems. So they had definitely noticed a big difference during that extreme heat period. That's
excellent. Excellent news.
And the other lettuce farmers in the area are not really close to us. We just, via the grapevine of growers around, but yeah, they're not close as in neighbours.
I see.
But you know what I do when our neighbour goes round and he sprays Roundup on the edges of his boundary so he doesn't have to do much work, kills the grass. I go afterwards with a spray bottle of CO2. and I do my own spraying.
Yeah, good one.
And I just hope it drifts and down his way. So, but anyway, it's good fun.
All good fun.
Yeah. Any other questions?
That sounds incredible. 2 weeks on the shelf, Jimmy. It'd be great if you could get that grocer to quantify that and track it for you.
Yes, it's just these little things that you just ask people, because they don't really come out and say it until you ask them the questions. But yes, we've seen even on sort of our micro radish on the shelf and not in great refrigeration conditions, even during this heat, has lasted also great and superb.
At least a week.
2 weeks. Yeah. So yes, our shelf life on the fruit and vegetables is enormous. That has huge implications alone, just having the shelf life extended.
In terms of us convincing our friends and colleagues, it would be very handy to have a copy of that toxicity analysis Tokyo University did, are there any other sort of assets like that we could be compiling to have on the ready?
Not that I know of, but I know that Kesh has now said that he's going to be doing a press conference in Japan with all the guys at the lab there and all their findings. So I'm sure something should come out in
a couple of weeks.
Proper published something, you know.
Yeah, we really got to hang on to that information, because it's hard when you've got friends who are really sick and you want to send them some GANS water, but what else can I send them outside of a link to the testimonials page, which alters quite randomly each week? Have you got any tools there you use?
At this stage, not necessarily. Did you see the new one on the health unit with the lady with the cancer of the breast?
Yes, I have forwarded that on. That was great. I would have loved at the end of that for there to be any sort of other studies he could have added to it to say, look, I'm not the only one. This has happened here, here, and here.
I think we're just at the beginning stages, Carl. I think I get the feeling now that the results are going to start coming through thick and fast, particularly on the health side and from Japan. And once that starts, then I think it won't stop. You know, and that's what we're hoping as well with the springtime coming up in the Northern Hemisphere, that we'll get a lot of people on the agricultural side. And so in 6 months, 7 months time, we hopefully will also start getting a lot of results coming through on the agriculture side. So I think it's coming. You know, it's been a long time, but I think things are starting to come through now.
Oh, it's certainly incredible. I mean, I've heard enough anecdotal stories on the Knowledge Seekers workshops. It'd be good to see some of them compiled into one piece. But yeah, that was certainly a top class presentation that Dr. Rodriguez did.
Yeah, definitely. Will change the way, have a big impact on the world, I think. We won't realize how much.
So has anyone ever asked you whether this product is organic or anything along those lines? How have you answered that question?
I haven't had that question because what I find that nobody really worries how you grow the stuff. It's quite bizarre.
It's quite strange, but perversely they don't ask.
Yeah, you know, in the rest of the world, it's probably quite different. But here, when we've been around and spoken to our people we supply to and this and that, they really don't have a worry how it's really grown. You know, they know that it's you know, we tell them how we've grown and what we do, but it's not, they don't put it into a story. It's not part of their story for their shops or this. So.
Yes, we found it quite strange because at the beginning when we started our aquaponics, you know, we had written up beautiful flyers and pamphlets and going to give the chefs and show them our aquaponics, and it was like, oh, well, it's good lettuce, thanks, I'll have it. But, you know, a couple of them came and visited because they like to see, but no one seems to worry, quite strangely.
I have spoken to a lot of our sort of people we supply to, our grocers and this and that, and explained to them what we're doing. And, you know, so they are seeing the results on the shelf. And our sort of next step would be to try and create something that they can use so they can see the effects on their shelf and to extend maybe the shelf life of their other produce. But my feeling is that to really get the good benefit and extra shelf life, the plants have to be grown from the beginning with the plasma and the water to really get the best results. Because it's difficult to fix something that's already 3/4 broken.
Yes, I must continue testing how the soaking of seeds for 4 hours goes. I think I did it for too long first time, and then they couldn't handle being placed in the soil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I've got an example to tell you then, Carl and Jimmy and Lisa. I soaked my pea seeds for 18 hours, and I wasn't sure what time I should use, so coincidentally it was 18 hours, and then I put them in the ground, and it only took 4 days and they started to emerge. They seemed to like the situation. Mind you, we've got pretty warm conditions here. Last time we saw rain was a month or so ago, and it's the sun's shining pretty brightly and it's getting quite warm outside. That may contribute, but I've tried another trial plot, and the seeds haven't emerged. So I think I didn't over soak them, perhaps I did, but they seem to like it for 18 hours.
Yeah, I think that the time will vary. You know, we've soaked some seeds and that we've forgotten, and I think it was nearly 2 days, and planted them, and I think most of them came up. And then other times we've soaked for 4 hours, and we've still had the same results that's been on our micro radish.
The problem is that we haven't grown them to maturity as yet, except for a few different things that we've thrown into the ground for our sort of compost experiment. So it would have to be seen if it changed anything genetically, because the micro radish is only the first 2 leaves anyway, so it doesn't really show up. But yeah, to grow things to maturity might change things, and we're not quite sure what.
I'll keep an eye on the peas then, in that case. I hope it doesn't regress back into a
wild pea.
Very small. Yeah, right.
Keep us posted. Maybe you also have a Jack in the Beanstalk there.
Right.
I was gonna say Ross and the Beanstalk, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I wish I was a beanstalk.
But I soaked my seeds for 4 days, and they germinated, and I got really excited in the plastic bag, and then put them in the soil, and it must have been too big a shock. They didn't like it, so I'll have to be more on the case regarding that.
Yes, I think even we found sometimes even the shorter the better. So we've done our radish seeds that we've been growing every week, and we've soaked for some 12 hours, some overnight, and some just for 4 or 5 hours. And we've seen the same results. So it has the soaking time hasn't seemed to have changed the initial effect on the plant.
But one could also just use a spray bottle, and then because we found, for example, our lettuce seeds, we can't soak our lettuce seeds because they're so tiny that then you can't actually use your fingers to plant each little one in each little cup. So because when they're wet, you can't do that. So we just put our seeds in the cup and then give them a spritz from a Gans water bottle, and then close them up and water them with some liquid plasma added to the watering can.
Yes, that drove me crazy too, trying to get them out of the bag on my fingertips.
Not practical when you commercial basis.
Yeah, absolutely. So it seems like you're compiling a whole pile of areas where there's going to be big savings to agriculture. Is the storage aspect perhaps the one that's going to be the most beneficial and the easiest point for us to be able to sell, or is it the shorter germination time? What's your inclination?
I think initially the shelf life, people will, because we know traditionally what shelf life of the typical fruit and vegetables are at the moment. And so by changing that shelf life, I think that will have a dramatic effect. and your pest reduction. You know, not having to worry too much about spraying for pests. If they can do away with that, you know, it's cost saving for not having to do pest control. So I think those two factors are quite important to start off with.
And you know, a lot of farmers who like to be biological in a sense, but almost can't afford to stop spraying for various pests because they just get overridden by all sorts of pests. I think this will benefit them because they'll feel more confident to be able to go slightly more towards an organic route, you know, which they've always not done in the past because they're always too frightened to be wiped out.
So there's a lot of scope, you know, and the more information we get back from other people just confirming the results we've had and confirming the results that Ross has had, you know, then we can start compiling sort of definite data from various sources all saying the same thing. So that's our sort of focus.
And we're hoping Klaus in Austria there has, you know, got a lot of grower connections and can start pushing it out in his areas. We know that I see Wojtek was online early on. I don't know if he's still there. He knows the Polish lot in Poland, who've a lot of farmers there. And we're hoping that they can start looking at testing many of these things a bit more widely.
I've mainly been listening as I cycle into work. And I've checked your GANS production explain document, Lisa, and I'm trying to, can you please just give me the details? As it seems like zinc oxide is produced in the same manner as CO2.
It is, but if you do it the same way as you do CO2, you will get some CO2 in there. Okay, so the alternative way to do it is to use 2 zinc plates, and then you know you're getting only zinc. And the way to do that,
one nanocoated.
Yeah, you don't have to nanocoat them, because what happens is if you put any 2 of the same plate into salt water and hook one up to negative and one up to positive, your negative will become nanoed. It'll go black. It doesn't matter what metal you use. You'll see one will change darker and the other one will stay light. And the GANS will start forming on the darker one. You don't need a lot of current. And with the zinc, just be really aware. It'll start really fast. If you're using a battery or something, rather use a sort of a flattish battery, because what happens is once it gains speed, it goes faster and faster, and then it'll start eating your zinc plate off, you know, to start making black stuff instead of the white stuff, because it's going too quickly. So just, you know, try and power it down a bit. Even if you then just connect it up with just a wire and leave it like that, and it'll probably still just carry on.
Beautiful. I asked that because I'm getting the inclination that the zinc is the best nutrient across the board for various plants.
Look, I think as in a combination like anything, that because the zinc is the soul strength, they do need it, and I think it will be, you know, maybe if we start literally just spinning a plain zinc ball and see what happens. We haven't quite gotten that far yet, but yes, it is really important. But it doesn't really matter if you've got a little bit of CO2 in there. It just muddies the waters so that you're not quite sure what you've got. So if you're trying to test with only zinc, for example, you can make yourself only zinc. And if you're using for medical purposes, you want the sort of the cleanest CO2 and you want the cleanest zinc, so that when it says to you, I want 1 drop of zinc and 1 drop of CO2, you're not, you know, mixing up the recipe because you've got a mixture in both of those GANSes.
Excellent. Thank you. I can tick that off my list. Well done.
Thanks, Carl. Any other questions? Or shall we call it a day? All right. Well, thank you, Ross, and thank you, Klaus, for your presentations today. I think we learned a lot on both of them, and we hope that people will be able to implement some of those ideas in their own garden and farm. And with Klaus, thanks, it gives us a new insight into how precious and valuable our water is, and
how important it is to energize it correctly.
yes.
And we will be adding about the pendulums stories as we go, and as we learn, we will hopefully teach, and get your little vials of Gans ready, and we'll start playing.
Thank you very much, Lisa and Jimmy, for your presentation. It was most interesting.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for your participation.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you also. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I love you.
Good night.